Hey everyone, very exciting show for you today. We are bringing back Omar for our expert series. You will hear from him every Tuesday. Omar, welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
What's going on, Michael? How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. I'm excited about this topic. I can't tell you how many times I hear from either investors, new investors, haven't got anything yet. They're asking me about, should I become an agent? Should I get my license? And then I hear from agents who have done transactions in the business going, how do I become an investor? So I love the
Right.
fact that you and I are on both sides of this equation and we can tackle everything from zero to hero. So where do you think we should start this conversation, Omar?
Let's start it with you're a realtor. You got in the business. What are you going to do next? And by the way, you're getting into the real estate business to probably not to list and sell us because you want to be the investor because that's what's sexy right now. Everybody's an investor. Everybody wants to buy houses, but people don't know how to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to start off with saying, if you picked the real estate market to be in or the real estate industry to be in, know what you're going to go into first. Like,
Yeah.
know it's going to take a lot of time and effort. People like myself and Michael, we've been doing it a long time, and we've been up and down plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's understanding where the market can go, will go. But the most important part is understand that you still need to learn a lot more. It's not going to happen overnight, and get good at your craft. And obviously, if you want to go down the road of listing a bunch of properties, that's the number one game because that's where your skills start coming in, and you can create opportunities with situations that sellers tell you they're going through. So just that's a key. That's an important key right there.
Yeah, one of the things that now that we've got this expert series going with you, folks, there will be a playlist on this channel, probably just called Omar, that you can go back and listen to. And the reason I'm highlighting that is the very first video we did with Omar, he talked about the three different levels when you talk about being an agent, right? One is, hey, it's a job, right? I'm going to go get listings. I'm gonna do open houses. It's just a job. It's a job and a check.
Right.
Then it's the folks that it's truly a career, right? They're in this for the long term. They want to be an agent for 40 or 50 years or a broker, right? Agent then broker. It's a career. And then there are folks like you, right? In the video, we talk about you've made it a platform, right? An agent was just step one on a multi-step journey getting you to a platform. And you are so right in that conversation and now where we are going to go. It is sexy again. This is so 2006 again. Real estate is
It is.
sexy again. It is amazing how it comes and it goes. It's like the sunrise and the sunset. Right now, the sun is coming up. I bet you it's like 7:30 in the morning, right? So the sun is still peeking up. And what that means, folks, is we got a long way to go with the sun rising still, in my opinion. But again, there's a big step from having the vision, the warmth of the sun, meaning opportunities and wealth, and actually getting that platform, right? So one thing I loved in your explanation is we've got to connect the dots for, hey, I've got excitement and interest to the vision of wealth. And there's so much stuff to
Right.
learn. So why don't we kind of outline for someone who's, let's just assume they passed the exam, right? So they're a brand new license, they smell, clean, and, they got the new car smell, if you will. Um, and let's assume they're going to do it full time, right? So they're not a part-time agent. Let's
Okay.
take that off the table, at least first. Full-time agent, have the license, hung the shingle at some brokerage somewhere, and their whole goal is ultimately to build a platform like you did, right? It's a platform to wealth. Where do you point them at for the first 6 or 12 months?
First 6 or 12 months is understand your contracts because you haven't seen a contract. You don't know what's going on with it. You don't know how to fill it out. And you're gonna get you'll get people by default because you're super excited. You're letting everybody know I'm in real estate now. Okay. And figure out your contract, your buyer side and your listing side. Ideally, your first initial deals are going to be buyer side. So the way it worked with me to establish that platform and to get myself in that position was I became a really good buyer's agent. Okay. I represented a lot of buyers and I wanted to show a lot of properties to get myself familiar with being in front of people in a sense of they're buying their biggest investment property ever in their lifetime. You don't know who you're going to meet, but most of the time, families and people that are buying houses, that's their biggest asset. That's their biggest investment ever.
No doubt.
Okay, period. So You get good at that. You build a rapport with those people. Then you start elevating your skill a little bit. Like, well, you know what? Now my time is so limited that I'm showing properties left and right. And it's like, I don't have no time because you literally work a lot when you're showing buyers.
Mhm.
And then when you start establishing the listing side, understanding like, hey, I could sell houses too. Okay, well, let me get in front of some sellers. Let me practice first. And and I didn't practice. I didn't have what we have now, Zoom. We didn't have role plays. We didn't have any of that stuff 17 years ago.
Mhm.
So it was just like, okay, trial and error, me talking in front of a mirror and pretending that person is a seller. What am I going to
Yeah.
tell that person? Why are they going to choose me, some 23-year-old kid, 24-year-old kid, to sell their home?
Yeah.
What kind of value am I bringing? What do I know the market? This is where knowledge is going to 100% help you. But having a bunch of knowledge doesn't mean anything. Execution of doing something trumps knowledge every day of the week.
Yeah, I second everything you say there. The thing I would tell someone new is the first thing you should do, right? Again, you're a 24-year-old brand new agent, just hung your shingle. What I would tell someone to do is you got to go become the expert at something, right? Now, that could be lots of things, but you need to become the expert in something. And by the way, becoming an expert doesn't mean like you have a PhD. It just means you know more than anybody else in the office. So let's give you some four examples. Maybe one example is there's a new development going on somewhere in your area. Well, why don't you go learn the most about that construction, all the layouts, the square footage, the cost, the building plans, what the next phases are, become the expert in that, and then start publicizing that. Maybe it is the school systems. Maybe you know the top 10 and the bottom 10, and you can talk about that and this and that in gory detail. We happen to be coming up to an election. Maybe what you should do is you should go look at the propositions that could impact real estate and become the local office knowledge for the propositions. I think it's 15, 19, and 21, 25, 23, whatever. There's three that impact real estate. Become the expert in those. In the end, you are not going to become a very powerful 24-year-old by trying to be as knowledgeable as many things as the 40-year-olds. You just don't have time. Time doesn't work that way. But if you pick a single leg and you go super deep, like hours and hours and deep and document and tell stories, and then next thing you know, hey, I got somebody looking to buy a house in one of the top 2 school districts. Why don't we bring Mike along, and maybe, I'll split the commission with him because he's going to help me sell it versus someone else. Or, you just got to become an expert in something. So pick it, go deep, and then you branch out, right? So if you did school systems first, the top 10, maybe then you can go to where is all the new retail going? Just become an expert in something. The biggest thing new agents and frankly new investors do wrong is they try to learn everything all at once, and you just can't do that. You're an inch deep and a mile wide, and that gives you no competitive advantage. If you
Zero.
go an inch wide but a mile deep, you have a competitive advantage, and that's what you need early, in my opinion.
Good. Well said, Michael.
Awesome.
Well said. And in a sense, since we didn't have a specific area or development, I just wanted to become the number 1 or 2 or top 5 buyer's agent. So all buyers came to me.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why people came to me, because I got them their property. I
Yeah.
got them the acceptance. And that was what I wanted to focus on. And I also saw it 5 years from now.
Mhm.
Like I was in it, but I'm like, okay, all these people, I wanted to figure out how long they held property for.
Right.
So if they held property for 4 or 5 years, well, go super fast, try to represent a bunch of buyers, create your database. And guess what? Those buyers that I helped, 15, 16 years ago, they've doubled and tripled, and they've given me 5, 6 referrals each because I became an expert in that part of the equation of being a buyer's agent. And it wasn't sexy. I was running, and these were commission checks at $4,000, $2,500. It wasn't super like 9, 10, 11, 12, $15,000 checks that we're receiving now. This is totally different. So we had to do so much volume, but it worked out.
Yeah.
So after you became that great buyer's agent because you know the skill and you know that craft,
Mm-hmm.
then you graduate, you start dipping into becoming a listing agent because everybody in the industry is like, hey, you got to
Yeah.
list to last, create the inventory, and people were always going to buy properties from you. So I started hearing that, and I'm like, okay, I got to start switching my focus.
Mm-hmm.
I did 50% buyers, 50% sellers until my seller game, until I started being able to become more valuable in the marketplace, meaning that people know who you are, you market and you sell properties quickly. So when you become more valuable, you become more credible in your marketplace that they want to use you.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's what I did in that transition, became more of a listing agent. But then I started seeing, obviously, in 2006, 2007, it was booming, and then it dropped. And then then you had to adjust and pivot again, and like, okay, well, if you have listings, you really aren't selling anything because
Mm-hmm.
nothing was moving. So then you had to adjust again. I became an REO broker, which the banks were giving me properties. But then I saw one more thing: all these buyers needed to buy these houses. And then all these investors started buying. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? Let me adjust again. And I focused literally 2 weeks, just nothing but learning the market straight. No deals, by the way, in those couple of weeks of figuring everything out. Then I hit it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I started saying, all right, well, if these guys are buying these properties, how do I get more opportunities? Getting in front of more sellers, figuring this part out, getting in front of hard money people. And I'm the timeline's super fast. I'm doing Cliff Note version of it.
Yeah.
But what Michael was saying is that get good at something first, master it, then add another stream of income,
Yep.
then get good at that, and then you start leveraging. Now you start seeing your time per hour go through the roof. So you still want to help buyers, but you add somebody else in place to help you transition that, and
Mm-hmm.
you focus on what's better in your time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, one of the things, if you're going to be in this game and you're going to make it a platform, is you will have several shifts in focus, right? The market, trees don't go to the ceiling or grow to or whatever, right? Trees don't go up forever. REOs will come back at some point in the future. I mean, it is cyclical, especially in California, man. We see some ups and we see some downs. So get ready, be flexible. But you don't really have to anticipate. The market will tell you, right?
Yeah.
It'll be loud. It'll scream REOs are important, right? Because nothing's moving, right? So be flexible. Let's flip the script now.
Okay.
Let's talk to the people that were like me, right? I'm a full-time employee. I'm traveling all over the world. I get excited by real estate. And, for whatever reason, lots of them do. They send me it all the time. They go, should I get my license first? In this case, it's not a full-time agent. This is a part-timer who wants the license, probably, at least in most cases, because they think there's some special access or information in the MLS. So let's talk about that individual. I'm sure you hear from those people all the time.
I do. If the person that has a 9 to 5, that's a waiter, a bartender, whatever the case, and they want to buy an investment property, but then they want to get into the real estate game. They
Mhm.
only want to do it one day a week, and it's like at that point, I would say, you know what? Don't get a license. Figure out your market on what you want to buy,
Yeah.
because they're out there. There's so many avenues that you're able to figure out to get in front of sellers. You've done this, Michael. I mean, bandit signs. We buy houses. I mean, how simple is it to buy something online for $500-600, buy a bunch of freaking bandit signs,
Mhm.
go around? It just takes one phone call.
Yeah.
It does. It really takes one phone call, and this is something that I've seen happen. People that don't have anything, that just a normal 9 to 5, they don't have no investments, and then they all of a sudden start putting up bandit signs.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
they get phone calls.
I totally. And again, let's not forget my story of one rental at a time was built
Yep.
entirely out of what you can call the MLS, but it wasn't really, it wasn't really the MLS. It was realtor.com.
Right.
Realtor.com, scrapes, I don't know, what do you say, 70, 80% of what's in the MLS. There's still some hidden fields.
Yeah.
again, we replaced 2 6-figure incomes by buying deals out of realtor.com. It
That's
can
awesome.
happen. You just got to learn your market. So I'm glad you said that. A lot of people that kind of gravitate to my message of one rental at a time have crazy work-life balances already. They're working 60, 70 hours a week. They're raising a family. But for whatever reason, they think getting a license is the secret. And if that's you, don't waste your time, because you're going to spend, I don't know, getting a license part-time. It's probably 6-month journey.
Right? Yeah, 5 6 months
Five,
on the
six
dot.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, you can learn a market in 3 months. Right. So, and the other thing I'll tell you is, so I ended up, it's funny. You probably know this. So I retire financially free, no license. I write a book, and then I go, you know what? I'm going to go find out what the MLS has. So I actually get my license. It takes me about 4 months. I pass it first time. I log in the MLS going, oh, okay. Well, there's an agent field, which typically is not in realtor.com. And there's a couple other variables, but I'm like, geez, there's nothing here. So I will not renew my license. I think it comes up in November because I have no interest in representing anybody else. I have, I've made, I don't know, 30,000 bucks just by getting a portion of my own deals. But I don't need the headache. I don't need the paperwork. I'm happy to pay people that do work for me, because again, at least in my case, there was no extra information. Maybe back in 1990, before the
Right.
internet, there was a lot of data there. It was probably very valuable. But today's world with Zillow and Redfin and realtor.com, if you have a full-time job, most of the time don't get your license. However, if you have a 9 to 5 and your passion is helping owner occupants buy their first home and you want to have a second career, awesome, go for it. But if you are that investor that thinks there's some magic variable in the MLS and you're going to waste 6 months getting a license that you will never use, you're going to flush 2 to 5 grand down the toilet because
Yep.
you're not going to use it. Two, my opinion, there's 10, 15, 20 extra fields. Not many of them are interesting to investors. Some of the historicals are pretty awesome. I got to give a shout out to the MLS for that, right? When you can go back and look at historicals, awesome. But if you have a relationship with an agent will give you those historicals.
100%. I
Right.
was just going to tie into that.
Yeah. So build a
Michael.
relationship. So that's what I think. I think too many people look at getting a license as the secret answer, where the secret answer is go learn your market, spend 20 minutes a day learning your market, and stop making excuses. They see the license as a step forward when it really is an excuse to do nothing.
Right. You know, that I'll segue on that. When you build a relationship and you're a brand new investor, find out, like, go on Zillow, find out who sold the most properties, who has the most reviews, find out who the biggest player is in your area, call them and ask, hey, do you buy and sell real estate?
Yeah.
And honestly, you will be surprised how many top producers don't buy.
Yeah.
And don't hold.
It's
and
amazing.
Don't flip. It's ridiculous. In my opinion, it's just, we're in the business of helping people buy and sell, but you're not buying and selling. You're not holding. It doesn't make sense. But just go through the process of it and ask the big producers. And I think some do. I'm gonna say about 5 to 10% do.
Yeah.
Because now it's sexy and everybody wants to be an investor. So if you have a pipeline in the real estate market and you're buying a bunch of, or you're helping a lot of sellers and buyers, your income is increasing. So of course you have to go buy some stuff. At least that's my perception.
Sure.
So if you're the investor, ask who the big producer is, figure out who it is, go on social media, figure out real estate and who buys and sells in your little market or in your big market, and get next to them and say, hey, listen, if I bring you some deals, will you partner with me? Will you teach me? Absolutely, we will.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy.
Yeah.
That part's the simple part. I mean, don't overcomplicate it, because everybody wants to be the investor. It's sexy again, like Michael said. So if you're brand new and you're that new investor that has a 9 to 5 and you want to just buy a house or two or figure out how to buy houses creatively, there's YouTube, which is all the information.
Yeah.
There's podcasts, like this one, figure this out. And best of yet, build that relationship with someone that's local.
Yeah.
That they should be able to teach you and show you and be open to learn a little bit and not make a big percentage, but just learn and make a little bit of a percentage of something you bring to someone, because you never know how long that relationship will last.
Yeah. There's a couple of things there that I've done over the years, and I don't do these all the time now because I have a track record and a reputation, which gives me a head start in many conversations. But in the beginning, like 5 years ago, I would actually always look up who was in second place. I would always find out who is second, because I want to call them and go, hey, don't you hate that mother that's, blanker that's in number one position? Let's work together and get you up there. What do you think about that? I mean, I've done that dozens of times. So that's something I found that's pretty useful.
Awesome. Look at the second place guy.
Yeah. Because really, I mean, real estate's a commission-based business. It's a transaction business. And most of us have a competitive streak. Most second place real estate agents make a great living, but they're also annoyed they're not number one.
Oh,
I mean, come on, really?
I will concur there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing that I think, again, if we talk about the communication, because now what we're saying is if you're a full-time employee, don't get your license most of the time. It doesn't give you what you want. But boy, you have got to treasure that initial communication with an agent. What I tell every new investor is you got to get hyper focused on what that first conversation is. And what I would tell them is, I would be very specific on what I'm looking for. Hi, Omar, this is Michael Zuber. I'm a new investor in the Inland Empire. I am looking to buy 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses, 1-story, with attached garage, 1,200 to 1,400 square feet in this zip code, right? You have to show that person that you know what you're talking about, or at least have an opinion. What you cannot say, and I still get these questions, is, hey, I'm an investor in the Inland Empire. Just show me a good deal. What am I going to do with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know what a good deal is, you don't know what you're looking for, one of two things are going to happen. One, they're going to hang up on you, or, flush your number, not save it. Or two, they're going to give you just something that no one else has taken and see if you bite. I mean, one of the two things is going to happen, and neither one will be good for you. Yep. What else do you see that connection? Because again, I believe, I think your point about, top agents not being investors or owners is shocking. I mean, you can make 7 figures, certainly 6 figures, being a top agent. And the fact that you haven't diversified your portfolio to have some wealth built with owning is shocking. It just is. It still shocks me every day. But what else can we do to clean up the communications? Because just like new investors calling agents, I would say agents picking up the phone. I think too many agents kind of, when they hear investor, go, just another one, like, oh, you're a seminar junkie, hang up. Instead of doing that, what do what 1 or 2 things can an agent say before they just flush everybody that says they're an investor?
Oh, this is big, because this is, I saw one more step. And great question, Michael, because if you're the agent and you're receiving that call from the investor, okay, you don't know how deep they go. You don't really know how deep they go. And when I say deep, that means they have a lot of money. That means they want to reinvest. They probably want to keep you as their agent if you show them that you want to help them. They're going to go buy 5, 6 houses. You just got 5, 6 listings. But is it going to take time? Yes. You build that relationship. It's not going to happen on the first day. I mean, if that's the case, that means they've been already through a couple agents that didn't show them that the returns they wanted. So think of the long-term relationship that you're going to build with that investor. And you won't know what kind of investor that person is until you're on the phone, until you talk to them. Take the time a little bit to find out who that person who he or she is, and you'll see something later, because okay, that want to sell their home. Okay. What if it doesn't work for them? What if it does not work for them to buy it or to keep it as a rental? Are they going to just let that person go? Or are they going to say, oh, you know what? Omar was always calling me. He always wanted to find out if I found deals. So I'm going to go ahead and give this seller to Omar, the realtor or the agent, and let him take care of that seller and list the property. Okay. So now that investor might make a small referral, right? But what happened is he gave you a potential lead that you're going to end up listing. But most people won't, oh, it's an investor, see you later. And I'll be honest, that it's happened to myself too. And I've said, okay, thanks, because everyone calls, hey, Omar, I got deals, you want to buy them? I get different phone calls now. But before, I was just a realtor not investing, and I didn't know yet how to do it. And then I would make the conversations. And this is how I saw how investors would buy properties, fix them, sell them for a profit, and I would see their HUD ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, well, and then they told me how it all worked, but that did not happen unless I built a relationship with that phone call that said, hey, I'm an investor, can you help me?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah. What I would tell an agent, again, I feel for agents because I don't know what the ratio is, but I'm sure it's horrible, right? I'm sure for every 10 phone calls, 8 of them are a complete waste of time. I'm sure it's at least 7, if not 8.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Those 2 or 3 are repeat buyers.
Yep.
Right? They're multiple transactions. They're decades of leads and opportunities. So when you look at it in totality, it's worth the time. So what I would tell an agent is I would treat every investor call in a 2-step fashion. Step 1, I would ask, what are you looking for? And if they said, I'm looking for a good deal, I'd flush that phone call because I only want to deal with people that know what they're looking for. So let's assume they say, anything. It could be as generic as I want an 8% cash on cash return. Well, that's a step in the right direction.
Right.
They're saying something. It could be, I want a single family home in this city. Probably too big, but again, step in the right direction.
Correct.
Right? These are things you can deal with. Okay. So you get some variable. Then what I would do is I would hang up, I would get their email, and I would send them 3 or 4 listings that meet that generic criteria, or you think meets that criteria. And I would say, please give me feedback on these 4. I'd probably hard close. I'd go, great. Here are 4 that met your criteria. Which one do you want to write an offer on? If these don't work, tell me why. Right? Because what will happen is either A, they'll write an offer on one of the 4 because it met their criteria. Great, you won. 2, you will learn more, i.e., I don't like this street or this zip code or this type of house or whatever, right? You're getting more data. Right. Or C, you'll learn the investor's full of shit and you're not going to waste their time again. But again, back to the 7 and 10, you need to assume that everybody is part of the 3. And that's my 2-step process for agents. And I would do that every time.
That's a good one, Michael. I wrote it down. This 2-step process for sure, because it just clarifies everything.
Yeah.
And I did it out of default just because I wanted to talk to more people and you're hungry. But this makes it simple. Think of every person that is an investor that calls you in that 30% group, because if you do, you will get and retain that multiple buyer.
You want to keep the 3. You can't miss the 3. I mean, missing the 3 is a disaster. It's tens of thousands of dollars a year for a decade.
Do you know what? And I'll add to that, because this 30% crew was that one guy that I talked to when I was having the REO business.
Yeah.
And they came to me, hey, I want to buy all these houses. And I started representing him on normal sales. Exactly. And I'm like, I started seeing it, and it's like, what did that do for me to see somebody else do that in that 30% crew or that group? Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be an investor too. And this was 10, 11 years ago. Yeah. And imagine if I didn't talk to that person in that 30% crew or group, where would I have been? I maybe would have, picked it up, but that was perfect, because now that I'm thinking about it, Michael, I did see what this person did and I saw what he was making. And it's like, I'm making $4,000, $3,500 on a damn commission check.
Yeah.
So it's like when you turn the commission checks into flips and then flips into buy and holds,
Yeah.
now you're in the game.
There you go.
Ah, see, that's so good. And that needs to be like the topic. You never know who's in that 30%. Period.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that should be a presentation. It should be part of the squad up. I mean, there's just so much there that we can do with that concept, right?
Oh, be part of the 30%? 100%. Yes. That's great.
That's
That's
awesome.
actually really, really good.
Cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, right, the agent investor relationship is one of those that can sap your time either way, either side. But it's one of those relationships that you the investor or you the agent need to invest in, because you never know. Either way, the 30% is just going to maximize, explode your success.
It'll absolutely explode it.
Yeah.
And think of the long term though. Everybody wants short-term gratification right now. Everybody wants it now.
Yeah.
But what happens is Michael didn't do it right now. I didn't do it right now. We're still actually doing it now.
Yeah.
And this is 17 years here, 20 years for Michael.
Yep.
So it's the long-term game. I mean, that's just with the knowledge you start seeing and you start understanding it and pay attention. I'm still writing notes and I've been in it 17 years.
Yeah.
People that are in it 5 years think they know it all. And I'm sorry, you don't.
Yeah. That's a great point. And that's something we should all do, but investors and agents specifically, we should all be just a touch more humble.
Yes.
A touch more humble. We don't know it all. It's a complicated business. And again, it's not about the math or the sticks and bricks. It's about the people. It's the people. And I think you get a lot more being humble. You do got to be clear. You got to have clarity, right? Again, the whole decision tree we outlined for agents is about finding the 30% and not missing one. But the same thing for investors, right? Investors, when you're calling agents, you should do the same decision tree, right? Some agents are meant to just do open houses. Some agents, right? Some agents don't like investors and they just want to talk to grandmas and I mean, I don't know, but you just got to figure out which agents are going to work with you, which ones are going to give you access, and do the same kind of decision tree. Let's see. This year's kind of odd. So let's just say over the last 5 years, I would say 50%, if not 55% of my business was brought to me by relationships with people who held a real estate license. Because they knew what I was looking for. I've been very, very specific for a long time. And they're like, hey, Michael does this. If Michael says yes, Michael closes. So they give me a phone call.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that. If Omar says yes, I'll close. If Michael says yes, I close. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what you want, right? If you find a deal that someone's looking for, you need to know who can close. Why? Because you only get paid when it closes.
Correct.
You don't get paid for interest and attaboys and wow, that's a gorgeous house and wow. None of that produces income.
No.
It's the guy or gal who will close.
That's freaking smart.
So I think this has been a great conversation. I think the realtor investor relationship, both sides, doesn't get its due respect. Again, I think both should be a little bit more humble. I think getting a license is an excuse for some investors. I think it's a great career, job, and platform, as you've shown us. But some people in the tech industry or financial industry or whatever it is, they have a full-time job. It's a distraction.
Oh, 100% it would be, because you can't be fully engaged in your 9 to 5 when you've got to be fully engaged in your industry in the real estate market to even become successful.
Yeah, there's just nobody has a day stretcher. Nobody has 36 hours in a day.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
So any closing thoughts, Omar? How can people follow you, reach out, see what kind of business they can do with you?
Yeah, you guys follow me at Omar_Alfaro. That's my IG. Omar Alfaro just on Facebook. And I got a YouTube as well. I have a link tree on my IG, so all my stuff's there as
Very
well.
cool.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to our Tuesdays, man. This is awesome.
Me too.
I hope I'm bringing some value to everyone that's listening, and let's can't wait for next Tuesday.
All right, buddy. Have some fun. Have a great week. All right.
You too.
Thanks.
Take care.